Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm Gamesplaining Red Rising. So this is a relatively simple game to understand. The playing of it, however, especially on the first play, can take a little bit of time because there's a potential heck load of reading and manipulation when you don't really know the cards. So the essence of the game is you have 5 cards to start with. You're playing one of these 5 cards into one of the 4 different planets, or areas, should I say. What you are trying to do is have a hand of cards at the end that allow you to get the bottom points of every card. There is also top points, you get them anyway. So this one, if I've got this in my hand and with Octavia at the end of the game, which I don't see Octavia on the board at the moment, but it looks like that, if that's of any help to you. So if I have her with Octavia, that will get me 30 points. So 15 points for this card, plus an extra 15 for Octavia. And then whatever is on the Octavia card. If I have the least influence on the Institute, so the Institute is this area, at the end of the game, and I have this in my hand, I'm gaining 15 points plus another 15. This one's going to gain an extra 2 points for each token on the influence track, which is there. So it might be worthwhile having one of these 2 in my hand, depending on which way I'm going, but probably not worthwhile having both. This one is going to get the extra 16 points if it's with a blue card. So this one here is a blue card. There are no blue cards in the hand at the moment. And this one is giving 5 points for each different color card that is in the hand at the end of the game. So if this was the hand at the end of the game, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different colors. Of course, these 2 are the same. They're both gold cards, which means that that would be getting 40 points for having that card in my hand at the end of the game. Now, you may have noticed this marking. This allows you to have some endgame things happening. And what that allows me to do is count this card as if I have the same name as a specific character. So I had a card back here that was looking for Octavia. If I have these 2 cards in my hand at the end of the game, the orange one counts as if it's Octavia. So it might be worth hanging on to that and then finding a way to get a blue card into my hand for the end of the game. And this marker means that you have an optional ability. So when someone tries to steal or banish a card from your hand, you can reveal that you have this one, which stops that from being happening, and then that comes back into your hand. So you will have noticed that each of the cards had this little symbol on it, which means this is the action that happens when I play it. So when I play this card, which is if I play it on the Institute, which is this area just here, so I would play that card down, I reveal the top 2 cards of the deck and place them under this card in any order. So these 2 cards go underneath this one. The very next thing that happens is I choose one of the other 3 piles of cards and take the top one out of that pile. So I may choose to go after the reporter, and he comes into my hand. By doing that, I've used Mars, which gains me one of these markers, which is helium. If I chose to take a card from here, that's from Jupiter, I would have also moved my marker forward 1. So that is move along the fleet track. That is take a helium. The Institute, so if I hadn't played into the Institute, I could take from the Institute, and when I took a card, I would place one of my tokens up the top. And if I played into Luna, I would take this marker, which is the Sovereign token, and I do whatever is on this card, which would be move along the fleet track. If I was this player and I took Luna, I would gain an extra helium. If I was this player and I took Luna, I would reveal and place the top card of the deck on any of the spots that I wish to play it on. So each of the different colors has a slightly different thing that it does. What we're doing with this top line and the number of things there and the number of helium that you have, and even with this, is trying to get some endgame points. So those endgame points are at the bottom of where your ship is up to on the fleet track when you get to the end of the game. If that is what the Institute looks like at the end of the game, each of the blue cubes in here, so each of the largest number is worth 4 points. So that's worth 24 points. Each of the second largest number is only worth 2, so that's worth 6 points. And each of the other numbers is only worth 1, so that's only worth 2 points. If it looked like that, both of those would be worth 6 points. If it looked like that, both of these would be worth 24, and that would be worth 6. You may be wondering what's going to happen, because in essence, you're playing one card out of your hand and you're picking one card up, which means that the cards that are in your hand at the beginning of the game are pretty much what's going to be there for the whole game. The other option you have is, once you've played a card down, rather than picking up one of the other 3, you can take the top card of the deck into your hand without showing anyone what it is, and you'll roll this die. That says you get the sovereign token, and you'd obviously do what is on your card for whenever you get the sovereign token. If that comes up, you'd move along the fleet track. If that comes up, you'd put one of your tokens up into the institute. If that comes up, you would take a helium. If that comes up, you reveal the top card of the deck and you place it in any of the locations that are available. And if that comes up, you do nothing. The game continues like that until there are 3 conditions met. Number 1 is that there is at least one ship up to or above the number 7 on the fleet track. At least one of the players has 7 tokens in the institute, and at least one of the players has 7 helium. If 2 of those goals are met by the same player, so let's just say that's what the board looks like. Blue has 7 tokens up in the institute and is at the number 7 on fleet track, then the game finishes there. You've continued and finished the round, so this is the round marker. The first player is marked by that, so everyone's had the same number of turns. If yellow is actually present, they are the first player, but they also get 1 extra turn at the end of the game. That's part of their ability, and that is game over. What you are then looking at is the value of the cards in your hand. Let's just, for example, say this is the cards that he had. So you're adding up all of these top numbers. Then if you have the people at the bottom, notice this is after you've done any of the end game stuff. So this is getting 5 extra points for each different color. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different colors there. So that would actually gain an extra 35 points on top of that. For each of your influence in the institute, which is up there. So he's got 7, so he's gaining another 14 points for that. You can see how it goes. This is 16 for his blue. There's no blue, so he doesn't get that 16. That's getting 15. He's with Octavia, which he is not. If you have the most helium, he has 1. No, he doesn't, so he doesn't get that 29 points. If with the Jackal or 2 other golds, so he's not with the Jackal, but he's with 2 other golds, so he would gain another 15 points instead of losing the 10. So adding all of those points up, adding up the points on the bottom of this track, wherever your ship is up to, 3 points for each helium that you have, an extra 10 points if you have the sovereign token at the end of the game. The points as described earlier, so because he's got 7 and he has 7, they're both worth 4 points each, which is 28 each, and he's only getting 6 points, so 2 points worth for each token up there. And then minus 10 points for anything over 7 cards. So this player has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 cards in his hand, so he actually loses 20 points for having those extra 2 cards, and that is game. And I think that's pretty straightforward to get to the end of the game. Now, there is one other action that I haven't talked about, simply because I've ignored it, and I tend to ignore this action when I'm playing it. When you have your hand of cards, you play a card, and then you pick a card up from one of the 3 other piles or the main deck. If you're happy that the cards you have in your hand are speaking to each other correctly, so you don't actually want to lose any of the cards out of your hand, all you will do is take a card from the deck and flip it over into one of the 4 locations. You don't get the action, but you do get the bonus. So that would push him forward 1 on the Jupiter. And that's pretty much it. The only time you would use that is if you're 100% happy with the cards in your hand and you don't want to get rid of any of the extra cards or do anything like that. So look, I will leave it there. Please go ahead and watch my gameplay to get a feel for how the game actually plays. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.